Hey everybody, I'm Kate Conroy.
And I'm Denise Christopher.
And this is Other People's Business, which is the podcast from the New Jersey Business and Industry Association, the largest statewide business association in the country, representing about 1 million jobs in the state of New Jersey. We release a new episode every other Wednesday, so be on the lookout for that. Shout out to New Jersey Manufacturers Insurance Group. They do home, auto, and workers' comp, so if you are in the market for updated coverage, check them out.
Awesome. Just a couple housekeeping matters before we get started today. This podcast is available anywhere you can get a podcast. That's iTunes, Google Play, Amazon's TuneIn. We even throw these things up on YouTube if you'd rather watch than listen. But no matter how you check this show out, show it some love. Give it that like, give it that comment, give it that 5-star review on Amazon. Sorry, iTunes. But if you can review things on Amazon like this, by all means, do it there too. Helps all of their respective algorithms push out the show to more people just like you. But with all of that out of the way, our awesome guest today from Attention to Detail Cleaning is Denise Christopher. Denise, say hi, let the audience hear your voice.
Hi, everybody. How are you doing?
Excellent. How are you?
Doing pretty good.
Thank you so much for being with us today.
Sure.
So our icebreaker question is, what are you currently binging? And it can be books, movies, television, food, anything that you're currently binging. I'm so ready for this question, but if you also have something top of mind, by all means, Denise, feel free to jump in.
Okay, kind of nerdy, but I completely...
That describes our show to a T.
I know, you're in good company.
Totally always binging podcasts. I very rarely turn on my TV, and it's just because I'm going all the time, so I'm always looking to listen to, I want to hear stuff, I want to learn stuff, I want to see what's going on. So I would say podcasts.
What's your favorite podcast right now?
Really anything business related. I do business, health, spiritual, just something where I could kind of learn from.
Nice.
I mean, obviously the best business podcast on the internet right now is Other People's Business. But give me some other ones that you might recommend to some people.
Definitely a lot of Gary Vaynerchuk. Two of my friends have Rob Lyon. He is actually someone I do business with all the time, and he has his own podcast. And my friend John Baruti, he does investment type podcast. So anything where I'm learning, a lot of health, Wendy Myers, a lot of health related stuff too. Just trying to always learn.
That's great.
Very
Oh my gosh. Mine is going to be like pale in comparison, I think. But there is a podcast element. So a couple of episodes ago, we talked about The Many Saints of Newark, which is the Sopranos prequel that just was released on HBO. And I loved it so much that I decided to go back and start rewatching The Sopranos from the beginning. I've never done a rewatch before.
Never?
Never.
Wow.
It's a great show. Yeah, and it's like 20 years old at this point. I think it was 1997 that it came out.
Like 5 years.
Yeah.
5 years ago.
You're right, exactly. So anyway, I've been right before I hit play on rewatching it, our coworker Heather Hansberry, shout out to Heather, told me about this podcast called Talking Sopranos, which is hosted by Michael Imperioli, who played Christopher, and Stephen Shrippa, who played Bobby Bacala, and they do a recap episode for each Sopranos episode. And so I'm watching an episode and then listening to the podcast and then talk about it and recap it. They do interviews with cast members, and it is phenomenal. I cannot get enough. It's so good.
That's a good one.
Yep, absolutely.
I've been doing I wouldn't say binging because I don't do a lot of binging anymore, with my daughter. Like I get like a very limited amount of time on the television a day. But I've been looking forward every week to watching Why the Last Man on Hulu. And the last episode just dropped a little earlier this week as of when we're recording this. It was one of those victims of the pandemic. Like they contracted the cast through a certain point, thinking that would be well beyond the first season and they'd be able to decide after it was over whether or not it was worth continuing. But the contracts came up like a couple weeks into season 1, so they were like, you know what, we're just going to cancel it. We don't care how good it is. And it's such a shame because it was a graphic novel about it was sort of like a big pandemic, which I guess is all the very relevant now. But on a one random day out of nowhere, any mammal with a Y chromosome just drops dead. So you have, for the most part, the entire world of women. You have some like trans people that were still alive, and there's one born male who survives along with his pet monkey, and they cross country trying to find like a geneticist that can help them save humanity, all that. But the show just took it so much further, you know, like his mother winds up in this place where she was a congresswoman who happened to be the highest person, you know, to in succession for the presidency. So in the book, that's just kind of like this throwaway thing, but in the show, they really focused on that, and they had all these people working around the clock trying to restore power, get people clean food or food and clean water and all that, and it was just fleshed
Wow.
out so much better. And it's just such a shame that they killed it, you know.
Yeah, that's a lot. I mean, I want to watch something that's gonna make me happy.
Yeah, no, this I don't know that this would be it. I mean, it's not like miserable or anything, but it was really well written. It's interesting, like when they cut to like what's going on with the president and, you know, them trying to restore power and everything, and to kind of drop some antagonists into that scenario, they wrote in real life counterparts for some. I won't give the names because they're very polarizing figures, but very polarizing political figures got dropped into that room, and it just adds so much tension, and they're so well written. Like, even though you hate some of these characters, at the same time you kind of love them because you know where they're coming from. Like, there's this whole grief element that was written into it. But speaking of plagues and viruses and bacteria and all these things, Denise, tell us what you do.
We are attention to detail janitorial services, and we provide cleaning and disinfecting services to offices, businesses, beauty salons, any kind of commercial property.
Wow.
Did you start it yourself?
I started myself. In 2012, I was recently divorced. I had moved back from St. Thomas, U.S. Virgin Islands, and had to move in with my mom, with my two children. At the time, gosh, one was starting high school, one was starting middle school, and I had to have an income. In St. Thomas, I had decent jobs, and I had actually started a social media marketing and graphic design company when I was there. Brought it over here, it just wasn't enough. Money wasn't coming in quick enough. And I had asked my sister if I could clean her house so I could put gas into the borrowed car that I had. So that's kind of where it started. And sometimes I would go to work 4 o'clock in the morning and do 7, 8 houses. At that point, I was helping a friend, and I would help him with a restaurant really early. So it was anything I could get, and just kind of started hustling from there. And it grew. Slowly, the residential grew, but then I started getting into more commercial, and that was just better for me. Once you're carrying insurance, the profit on cleaning homes isn't really there. So.
I guess that makes, I never thought about that before, but I guess that totally makes sense. Yeah.
So it started growing, and I was able to do my own social media, and I was able to do my ads. So that kind of carried over. When I was in St. Thomas, I had a customer service job at one point, so I had that. Yeah, so it's just
kind of like these convergence of all these skills that you wouldn't think are compatible, but they come together so well.
And also in St. Thomas, I was a director of alumni relations at the private school where my daughters went, so I kind of just had the organizing of things and events, and that's it. Kind of all came together. It happens as it should, I guess, when I look back, you know.
That's really cool. But so this is your company during a pandemic. I can only imagine how that impacted, you know, it versus you and you versus it. I don't know if I said that right.
At that point, we're going almost into 2 years ish.
Yeah.
I probably at that point had maybe 8 to 10 employees. So, you know, now I don't want to take that away from them, but we were fortunate in the way that our business grew even more. We started providing electrostatic disinfecting.
What's that?
I think of myself as a neat freak, and when you throw things out there, I'm like, ooh, new technologies and cleaning things up.
We would go into a store or a doctor's office, any kind of commercial place. Actually, we did a few homes as well, with its electrostatic gun, and pretty much, I think it's when you're shooting the disinfectant, you fill it up disinfectant, it's electric, and it's the positive charge meets a negative charge, and the liquid wraps itself around the chair, the desk. So you don't have to get everything wet. It's so fine. It dries quickly. It's just a great service we were able to provide. We do it on an emergency basis because most cases are, you know, we had a COVID positive person in here. Could you come spray? Of course, we're usually there within an hour or two.
That's
What was it
amazing.
like when it first broke out? Were the phones ringing immediately, or was it more like people being like, maybe there was a break?
We saw an increase in frequency. If somebody was once a week, they may have gone into 3 times a week. A lot of people have actually stayed 3 times a week. So it was just more increase of frequency because a lot of people were working from home, but there was still a person or two that went into the office. And I feel like, you know, because there was so much of the unknown, people wanted to make sure that no matter what, how long the germs lived on the surface, they wanted to make sure that it was covered, and they were really protecting their employees from what I saw.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't remember exactly when it was. It might have been late March, early April 2020. I remember we got an email that they had brought your company in to clean our office.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking at the time, like the first thing that crossed my mind was like, wow, somebody had to go in and clean my office. So my apologies to you on that.
Everybody's brains work different. That's what we say.
But I always just thought like, wow, that means, you know, it was surprising to me just that it was cleaned even though we weren't there, you know. So it was just surprising to me, like the world is still going and all that. And I guess for you, it kept going even harder.
Yeah, it is. And actually, we serviced a few fire departments. We were doing inside their trucks. You know, because that doesn't stop. You know, they're still going to be in and out of the building. So yeah, it's a great service. So that has grown. It was something we did not offer before. There really wasn't a need. You know,
I saw on your website that one of the services you guys offer is like a real estate, you know, if you're moving in, moving out, maybe selling a house. We had a big boom in the housing market during COVID. How did that affect you guys?
also in a very good way.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, my partner and I are both real estate agents as well. So we were able to go into a home, clean out the home. Some people are in positions where they're moving their family or the parents into a nursing home or assisted living. And what do you do with all the stuff? So we would come in, we sort, we pack, we donate, we find things for the families. We find DD-214s, military papers. We recently found a beautiful wedding band that was actually it was a wedding ring, diamond ring, that was like an heirloom in the family. So I'm getting goosebumps talking.
I've never even considered that. You know, like usually when I think about people cleaning, I don't think about what I might actually find unearthed, you know, the archaeological mess that is my house. You know?
So we will clean and we'll pack it all up. We pack it to donate it. We find families in need. Fire department tells us, okay, this family had a fire. They need this or that. We find single parents that need beds for their kids, dining room sets. I said recently we had college students that needed to furnish their apartments. So then we give a donation slip to the family. They can do whatever they want with it, and it doesn't go into the dump. That was the big thing. So, and then we'll go in, we'll clean out the house, clean the house, list the house. So we're busy.
Fantastic. That's fantastic. So here's a question for you. If you clean all day long, are you at a place in your life now where your partner's messiness gets on your nerves if it's just a little bit too much there, or are you like the whole rest of my life is just sanitized, let home be messy? Where do you fall on that?
I'm okay with the home messy. You know what I mean? It's like
Nice.
I want to enjoy my family. I don't want to have to worry, you know, clean up crumbs behind them. Of course, we're there wiping the dinner table and doing the basic stuff, but you know, it's very average. You know,
Very average.
yeah, it is. It's very average.
Yeah, it like that old saying, the cobbler's children go shoeless or something like that. Isn't that?
But it's clean, but it's I'm okay with a little clutter. It's you know.
Yeah.
You don't have the electrostatic cleaning going on.
No. But you know, it's just one of those things. Life is busy, and I'm not stressing myself out over it.
Yeah. Vinny once had like this throwaway comment about the state of the inside of my car, and it stuck with me for so long that when I finally took it through the car wash and had them vacuum, I made a point to tell him about it, and then he made a point to look and like congratulate me.
Yeah, I think we were, what was it? Was it the energy conference? We were
Yeah.
at one of our events recently, and we parked next to each other, and she made a point to be like, here, look at my car. It's much better than the last time
Better
you
than
saw it.
what?
And I gotta say, it's super impressive. She has her own little garbage can that hangs off of like what is that hanging off of? Like,
The little, what used to be the cigarette lighter, but now is the
sure,
charger for my car, for the
it was
phone.
adorable.
I didn't think it lasted.
Kate is redeemed.
I appreciate that because the throwaway comment, I don't remember exactly. I think I was talking about how neat of a person I am.
Yeah.
And he literally said to me, I've seen the inside of your car. And I was like, oh, the shame.
That was on the air too.
The intention is always there, the intention is there, but I don't know. You almost have to shut it down mentally and just enjoy what's there and what you're working for instead of stressing yourself out.
So true. So true. All right. I think we are going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to play a game. And we're back, and it's now time to play Awful or Awesome. I'm going to name 3 things, and we each have to decide quickly if they're awful or awesome, and be prepared to defend your answers. Are you ready?
Always.
First up, DIY project.
Awesome.
Wow, okay.
Okay.
I think they're awesome when someone else is leading the way. I don't think I'm handy enough to create something from scratch and just like do it. But if somebody else wants to like lead, I'm right there, enjoying myself mostly.
That's good.
Yeah, I think it's awesome in theory. I'm not great at that kind of stuff. Like there's a lot of stuff that I would love to even be able to get into, but I know that I just like can't. Like as a techie, like there are certain things that I really want to buy that require a certain amount of soldering and welding, and I'm just like I can't do that. So.
Yeah. Over the summer when I was at home visiting my parents, my dad decided to buy a carport, and he knew that there was going to be a lot of people in town, so he decided to put it together when a lot of us were there, and it turned out that I was the one helping the most, and I had a great time. But if you would have told me in advance that I was going to be putting together a carport with my dad, like tools and everything, never. I would have never, ever.
Kate's a totally different person when she goes to Minnesota, I always get the texts with like the dirty hands and like whatever the project was, but yeah.
I've always been very crafty, I could come out, I would do little flower arrangements or paintings or whatever. And then when I moved to St. Thomas, you're limited with what you have available to you, so you kind of had to find use for things. So you're not throwing out that table. You're going to use it, paint it, use it for somewhere else. I love all the DIY. I don't know.
That is so cool. Are you a big HGTV person?
When I can, yes.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I'll put on.
Nice. Love it. All right. Next up is Peloton.
What's a Peloton?
Denise, do you want to tell Vinny what Peloton is?
Peloton is the spin bike with the screen.
Okay. Sure. Yeah. Okay.
It's a great thing. I love my Peloton. I have to admit, I have not been on it as often as I want to be. I love it. It's I've never been a runner, so that's kind of where I get my cardio. And I love my Peloton. That actually got me through a lot of the whole pandemic when everybody's home, able to get a hold of one. So
that's cool. I love it in theory, but if I were to own a piece of exercise equipment, it would absolutely turn into a storage unit for clothing. I know that in my heart. I know that in my heart.
I just got one actually.
Really?
I haven't admitted this I don't know that I've admitted this on the podcast, but I actually caused the pandemic. Like you all have me to blame for that, because what happened was every time in my life I've gotten really serious about like getting into better shape and everything, like some horrible calamity happens. Like I've broken toes, I've gotten the shingles, like, and this time, like I was at the gym, I was going to the pool, I was on the Peloton. I now know what I can call it. I used to just call it the bike. And it was every day. And then I want to say like one day I went to the gym and it was like March 11th or something. And that was the last day for a while. The universe kind of checked in and was like, wait a minute, is he Oh yeah, we got to put a stop to that. But yeah, like I just kind of got back into it. It's one of those things. I love doing it because, you know, I could do that really all day as long as there's something in front of me that I could watch. So I just started binging some stuff while I was doing it.
That's a good thing.
Cool.
Good exercise.
Good for you. All right. Last up is pumping gas in New Jersey. And for those of you who do not live in New Jersey or who do not know this about New Jersey, but it is illegal for people to pump their own gas. There are gas pump professionals who will take your money and fill up your tank for you. So in the wintertime, in the summertime, when it's super hot or super cold, I think it's pretty sweet that I don't have to get out of my car, because I spent my whole life, you know, first 20 years of it in Minnesota, freezing my little tuchus off, you know, trying to get gas into my car. So I think it's awesome, but I know that a lot of people feel differently, and so I'm just going to leave that out there.
I think it's fine. Like, I don't think it's a big deal. I had to do that as well where I used to live, and I don't know. I just feel like do it for yourself. Do something for yourself. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Don't complain about stupid things. Just do it.
Don't complain about, and that should be on a bumper sticker somewhere. Don't complain about stupid things. I like it.
That's fine. It's no big deal.
I don't know. I don't know anything else, you know, like this is just like all I know. I don't, in fact, like I think we had Angelo Mendola on the show when we were talking about pumping gas once, and I said, like, every time I have to go out of the state and do it, I have to go to WikiHow and figure out like what I'm doing just to like make it happen. I have done it as a bluff a few times. Like, okay, there are times where you're sitting in your car for like, I don't know, it feels like an eternity before the people come out and actually decide to like pump your gas. So like one time I just got out of my car and pretended like I was going to do it. Like, you know, like, oh, I'm going to do it myself. And it was totally a bluff, because as soon as I touched the thing, I would have no idea what I was doing. They tore out there. I was like, all right, this works.
That is amazing. And it got their attention, right?
Yes, it got their attention immediately. I didn't know it was against the law. Like, so I guess if I had followed through on that, that would have been like double on me.
So I recently discovered that you do not have to be a member of Costco in order to buy their gas. And so when I went to Costco, because gas has gone up in price recently, so I just downloaded the Gas Buddy app again. And so I found that the cheapest gas in my neighborhood was at Costco. So I went there, and the guy in front of me handed out his card and a little cash, and I couldn't tell exactly how much. And he told the guy what he wanted. And so now I'm like, are we supposed to be tipping? Have I not been tipping this whole entire? How much do you tip?
I tip no matter where I go, like $2. They're
For
providing.
real?
I did not know that we were supposed to be tipping. It didn't even occur to me that that was like the kind of thing you would tip for. Oh my gosh.
I don't think you're supposed to. It's just,
terrible.
they're in the heat, they're in the cold, they're providing a service for you. And if everybody did $1 or $2, how great would their day be?
No, you're totally right, but I never knew that it was even allowed until I saw this other person in front of me. I've never seen anybody else do it before.
Yeah.
My mind is blown. I have to rethink everything.
I was actually going to.
Oh, what? Go
Pete's
ahead.
going to like go to every gas station she's been to.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Retroactive tipping.
No, I'm going to start to over tip.
And you
to
know
make
what?
up for.
They appreciate it. They really appreciate it that you're, $2.
I had no idea. I feel terrible.
I was going to say, when you said Costco, you didn't have to be a member. Last episode, I said we do everything better in New Jersey. When I drove to Pittsburgh a couple times, and I will do anything to not have to pump my own gas. So like I'll stop right at the border of New Jersey and fill up. But in this one time, I was on fumes, and I rolled into like what my GPS told me was the nearest gas station, and it was something like a Costco that they have in Pennsylvania. And I was like, hey, can you fill me up? And they were like, well, where's your membership card? And I was like, I'm not a member. I'm from out of state. Just help me out here. And they're telling me like, we can't do it. And I'm like, what do you mean? Just like a gallon would be fine. I'm on fuel. Like, just get me to the next station. And they just refused. And I was like, there ought to be laws that say that you need
That's not okay. Like a Good Samaritan law or something.
Right? Something. Just be like, yo, do you have a membership? Can you just put the card in for me for a second?
Literally drove away and like was lucky enough to find a nearby different gas station.
Yeah, and I'm really lucky, because when I say I was on fumes, I thought I was lucky just getting there. And I was like halfway tempted to just leave the car there and walk to whatever the next place was. Get one of those red canisters and bring it back, you know?
Can you imagine if you like had to have AAA come tow you out of
The gas station.
the gas station because you were out of gas and they wouldn't fill you up?
Exactly. Yeah, and I would throw so much shade at the whatever that company
Oh
was.
my
I
gosh.
That
can't
would have been
believe you
like a
don't
whole
remember.
social media phenomenon right there.
I can't believe you don't remember the name of the company.
No, I don't, because it was just like I rolled in there, whatever like Philadelphia's like version of that, or not Philadelphia, Pittsburgh's version of that is.
Or something.
I don't know.
Damn.
It's a few years. For me, everything now is a few years ago, but this was a few years even before the pandemic. But speaking of the pandemic, actually, I did have one question that I wanted to ask in the last half of the show, and I totally forgot. So, being somebody who was in the cleaning industry, we got a lot of changing information on COVID when things were rolling out to us, especially in the early pandemic. You know, I remember hearing things one week that were just totally wrong, you know, the next week. What was that like, kind of staying on top of that kind of stuff?
It was so frustrating because we were constantly, again, back to podcast, back to getting information, constantly trying to figure out how long the coronavirus, flu virus, any virus is going to last on the surface. They're saying that the stainless was 3 days and the wood was 24 hours, and Formica top may be different, but that information kept changing, and it was a little frustrating because we want to be able to pass that information on to our clients.
Yeah.
So we just did it more often just to be on the safe side, but there was constant changing information, and it's frustrating. It's frustrating, but it was all new to everybody, you know. So it was challenging.
Yeah, I remember there were things that I took as like law, you know, like it was like on paper it would be like 24 hours, and that might have changed like later, but I remember like my mail, I had like a constant quarantine unless it was something like I really wanted to open in that moment, and then I would just use the hand sanitizer.
And we went through that
Yeah.
time, the spraying the grocery packaging, spraying mail, leaving it outside, you know, and think about the businesses, you know, what they had a hard time and kind of came to us for that information, you know, should we leave it? And we always just kind of would go on the side of caution, you know.
Yeah,
At what point?
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, at what point in the learning process did we hit electrostatic?
I think kind of early on, because it was there. It was there before, because it's something it's the same stuff they use now on planes. You know, did you ever see the picture of those electrostatic guns that they're using? I think they were using them before when the flu virus was out, not at all as much as you see it now, but it became a big part of our business. People, you know, came to us all the time and still do for it.
I mean, it sounds like it would be a blast. It's kind of like the adult version of like water guns. You know, you're like running around the house like electrocuting COVID. You know,
you're going, and it's kind, you know, you're going into a hazardous situation. There's been a COVID positive or several people. You are masked up. You are in full Tyvek suits. You're in boots and goggles, because not only to keep yourself from being around the spray, which, like I said, is minimal, but we don't know, so we protect ourselves. You just want to protect yourself from the virus and from the stuff you're spraying, so you're not getting it all the time, you know, up your nose.
I mean, hearing your story in the beginning, you sound like a very brave person. So, like, what was that like? You know, like, was there ever any kind of like fear, like they've got you running in to handle COVID like everywhere all day? You know?
Not really fear, because again, you're protecting yourselves. I know that.
But you're protecting yourself, and the information is changing, like you said. You know?
So we go as cautious as we can, and then when you come back out, you are getting yourself sprayed. You're spraying each other before you take off that gear. You know, it's just doing everything, because you're going home. You're going home to your kids, and you know, you just want to protect everybody. There was definitely a fear of bringing it into the house, because you were just in a place with it. And did I miss a spot to spray myself? So, you know, we went through it, and you know, I think the most eerie time I always remember, when things kind of started coming back, and it was Costco again. They had just opened up, and you had to wear a mask, and now we're used to wearing the mask, but it was, the store was crowded, everyone had a mask on, and it was quiet because nobody was talking. And it was like the strangest time that I remember, and I'm like, are we coming back? Are we not coming back? Like, you know, your mind's constantly going. Should I be touching, you know, where this person just stocked the shelves? Can I touch it? It's just, then you start getting inside your head, I think, sometimes, you know?
I remember that time of quiet. We would go to the store and everyone was just tense and silent.
Yeah. And
It was
yeah.
like big eyes, like shell shocked. It was so
Yeah. Everybody
awful.
was scared. So
Yeah. Oh my God. So say somebody has an office building that they want to have professionally cleaned. How can people get in touch with you if they need to?
they would call my phone number, 732-814-1616. They could also go to our website, which is atdcleanteam.com, and they could reach us that way. What we typically do is go out and assess each site, and then we'll provide them usually within the next day or two with a cleaning proposal with the insurance certificates and everything. We like to go meet them in person, discuss their needs. Everybody's needs are different. Everybody's frustrations are different. So we go in and just want to personal one-on-one.
Nice.
Very cool.
Right. I think that's our show.
That's the show.
Thank you to our listeners, especially our subscribers. We so appreciate the support. Thank you to New Jersey Manufacturers Insurance Group, the official sponsor of the show. They do home, auto, and workers' comp, so check them out if you need some updated coverage. And finally, thank you to Denise Christopher of ATD Clean Team for joining us today.
Thank you so much.